Jay here, Stretford Paddock. This is Gazzetta. As you can see, I'm in my kitchen. I'm standing in for Adam McCullough, and I've done it again. I've not got papers with me. You don't need newspapers, physical newspapers, do we? Although it's nice to go through them. Because I'm doing it a bit earlier. We'll just go through the stories online because a lot of them are online. And the big breaking news last night was certainly online. And that was about Marcus Rashford. So we're going to get to that in a minute. Make sure before all that, you are getting involved in the comments in the chat and describing to the channel, subscribing to the channel. Let's get to 750,000 subscribers by the end of the season. With your support, we can do it. And if you want to know the weather here in sunny Salford, it's not so sunny. It's pretty grim. And this news about Marcus Rashford is pretty grim as well. The Athletic broke this last night. Now, if you've not been following it, it was basically following on from the story earlier on in the week. There was these pictures, this video going around, doing the rounds, I should say, showing that Marcus Rashford had been out clubbing in midweek and then reported ill for training on the Friday. Now, the sort of pushback from the club was that he was out on the Wednesday, which was fine. He was allowed to be out, and he'd not been out on the Thursday. He'd been come back to Manchester, from Belfast, and hadn't been feeling well on the Friday morning. Now it transpires after a report from The Athletic, and I think there's a few journalists involved. I think Mark Critchley, Laurie Whitwell, and Dan Sheldon have all reported on this, saying that basically they understand they've been given evidence that he was actually out on the Thursday, so the night before training, and then reported that he didn't feel well on the Friday morning, which is obviously not okay. So there's a bit of a fallout from that. There's a sort of follow-up article from The Athletic this morning. It says, Marcus Rashford has tested Erik ten Hag's authority. The manager has a decision to make. Goes on to say, Erik ten Hag's ability to demand discipline and high standards from his squad is going to be placed under the microscope once again. The United manager now to deal with the fallout from Rashford going to a nightclub in Belfast in the early hours of Friday morning, Friday morning, before reporting himself as too ill to train later that same day. Goes on to say, United were informed that the England international had only been out on the Wednesday night, but The Athletic is seeing confirmation that the 26-year-old attended Thompson's Garage, a nightclub in Northern Ireland's capital, on Friday morning. It's the second time this season Ten Hag will be faced with questions about Rashford attending nightclub, with the striker being criticised by his manager for visiting China White in Manchester hours after United lost 3-0 to City in October. The Dutchman described it as unacceptable and called it an internal matter. That's the one where he went to China White. Now, the China White thing was obviously wasn't great, and I think was that the birthday one. But after a game when you've lost a City, the optics of it are poor. But at least you can say, well, okay, it doesn't affect his performance, doesn't affect his ability to train, doesn't affect his ability to play for Manchester United. This time it has. He's not been able to train because he's been too ill when he's been out clubbing that same day or early hours of that morning. It's obviously not ill, is he? He's either hungover or just knackered from lack of sleep. So it's not all right, to be honest with you. And I've seen one or two people defending, but most of the people seem to be criticising Marcus Rashford. I don't blame him because I don't think this is okay. And just from a fan point of view, it's disappointing, man. It is, because I'm someone who's always stuck up for Marcus Rashford. I like the guy. I've defended him. He's one of my favourite players, if not my favourite players, for a multitude of reasons. And we need him. And I think sometimes the sort of criticism and the press he gets, the bad press he gets, is unfair. But in this case, it's not okay. It's not acceptable. And he should know better. He's a senior pro now. He's been in the Manchester United first team for around, 8 or 9 years? And he's doing things like this, which is, he might look at it and go, it's only Newport. It doesn't matter. We need him. We need him fit. He should be coming to training ready to go, not well enough to train and having to declare himself ill. That's just not okay. And the manager's now got to deal with this. He's got enough going on. I thought Marcus Rashford, when Jadon Sancho went back to Dortmund, that might help him a bit because it sort of solves a problem for him because it's his mate. It's like, okay, now I've got my mate having this sort of feud with the manager, but if he's gone to Dortmund, I can sort of forget all that and concentrate on my football. Sorry. We saw his celebration after Spurs where he was giving it all that, wasn't he? And someone tweeted and he said, yeah, it was basically a response to some of the grief he'd been getting for commenting on Sancho's post when Sancho went to Dortmund. And now it's this other issue of him going out, and it's something else the manager's got to deal with. And Marcus Rashford is one of our only strikers at the minute. We've only got him and Rasmus Højlund. So he might be thinking, well, the manager can't drop me because he's only got 2 strikers. Well, I think if he has to, and if you're not doing what you should be doing, and if it's a disciplinary issue, then he should drop you. And if that affects the team, then so be it. because you can't just get away with doing what you want to do when the manager's obviously not happy with you and told you that you shouldn't be going out. And you know you shouldn't be missing training. Anyone knows that. And Marcus Rashford should be setting an example to some of the younger players in the squad because, like I said earlier, he's a senior pro. Now, in the past, Marcus Rashford has had at least sort of 2, maybe 3 other strikers alongside him or ahead of him or other options for the manager, whether that's Romelu Lukaku and Anthony Martial or Mason Greenwood and, I don't know, Edinson Cavani and Anthony Martial, or I think Zlatan was still at the club when Rashford was there, or you've had Igalo and Greenwood and Martial. There's always been at least, Ronnie, Cavani, whatever. There's always been at least 2 or 3 options. Now, there's only Rasmus Højlund and Marcus Rashford who the manager's got to choose from. And you've got Rashford acting like this. It's not acceptable. He got dropped, didn't he, last season for being late for a team meet. He got dropped for the Wolves game, came off the bench and scored and seemed to have the right attitude. He said the manager was basically right to drop me because I was late for a team meeting. Erik ten Hag is trying to discipline this squad. He's trying to get this squad to the levels and the professionalism that you should see from any elite football club. Fergie did a similar thing. When he came in, he had a lot of players who had drink problems, or maybe not. Well, some of them actually did have drink problems, but there's a drinking culture, and he got rid of that. And in some cases, he got rid of good players. Paul McGrath, for example, I barely remember him because I was only a kid, but I remember him at Villa, very, very good. One PFA Player of the Year in '93. Older Reds will say he's one of the best defenders we've ever had. Couldn't toe the line, so Fergie moved him on. That was a very valuable player to Manchester United, someone Fergie probably could have done with. If Marcus Rashford can't toe the line, then I think his career at Manchester United is going to be in jeopardy. I really do. Now, you might be looking at it and go, well, this manager might be gone soon. Anyway, he might be gone in the summer. He might not be. The new manager might be looking at it and going, I don't want to work with this kid. Let's not forget as well, Marcus Rashford isn't having the best season. He's not been banging in the goals every week. I know he scored recently in the last couple of Premier League games, but his record this season hasn't been great. He hasn't been firing on all cylinders like he was last season. So I don't think he's in a position to really push his luck too much. He needs to sort it out. I don't know what's going on with him, but it's unacceptable. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let me know what you think. A couple of other bits as well. Andre Onana's had the AFCON from hell, hasn't he? Cameroon knocked out. He didn't play. They got beat 2-0 off Nigeria. I think he only played 1 game in the whole AFCON. That was a 3-1 loss to Senegal, I think. Just a complete waste of time, really, wasn't it? There was all this furore and fallout and debate about whether he should go, and then he went. He got his private plane or whatever it is to get him there. Missed the opening game. There was a bit of a kickoff there. Talks of him falling out with the authorities there. Didn't play in that game. Played in the next game. Lost. Was dropped for the subsequent game, and then dropped again for the last 16 game, and then they get knocked out. So disastrous all round, really, to be honest with you. And I think it's hopefully can get him back and playing for Manchester United sooner rather than later. Also, a couple of little bits as well. Dan Gore made his debut for Port Vale. I think they lost to Pompey, but he played, I think, 54 minutes. Hopefully he'll do well. And United have been linked with, who's the latest one? I said United have been offered Braithwaite. Martin Braithwaite has apparently been offered to United this month. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest with you. Erik ten Hag has been offered a chance to sign the 32-year-old Espanyol forward, who's currently playing in the second tier in Spain. Yeah, okay, thanks for that. Anyway, I'll leave it there. We're going to be back later on with the watch-along for the New Jersey Newport game. Me, Joe Smith, going to be back for that one. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've been Motty. This has been Gazzetta in a pretty cloudy Salford. Thanks for watching.